Hi, lovely people out there. My name is Dr. Christine. I'm an energy psychology practitioner, intuitive, and life purpose coach. And today I am going to tell you the story about how I remember my birth. I know that there's many people out there that are very skeptical of my story, and they say, well, how could you possibly remember your birth? Nobody can do, and nobody can remember their birth. I am the evidence that that's not true. I do remember my birth. I've had my parents tell me it was just a dream when I was a little girl, and I 100% know that this was not a dream. I've always dreamt intensely, but I can tell dreams from experiences that are actually real, and this experience has been so real that it's crystal clear. I mean, every single detail of it is completely crystal clear in my mind. I have two, small children, and I don't remember if I bathed my daughter yesterday or not, but I remember this experience to a T. So today I will be telling you about this experience and my story of it. And so grab a cup of coffee or tea, and let's begin. So my story of my pre-birth experience started somewhere in the universe, a couple of hours of my birth, which was July 2nd, 1987. What I remember is I was in this beautiful space. It was a space that is very hard to explain in human terms because on one hand there were aspects of it that we can relate to as humans on planet Earth, but there were other aspects that we can't. I was more in like a time space sort of continuum where there were I was in this space that was very luminescent. It was like clouds around me, swirling colors. A lot of the colors I saw were on the pink scale, so it was beautiful colors from going from pink to red to whites to yellows, and colors that we don't have on planet Earth as well. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful there. And the way that I perceived myself was not as Christine, but the essence of what is speaking through who I perceive myself to be as in this lifetime, Christine. So I very much perceived myself as who was talking to you, but not as Christine or a physical being. All right. So I was in this place, and what I could tell you is it was both concrete and not concrete. So there was abstract space there in the form of colors and just feelings and sounds. Feelings was absolutely blissful and beautiful. I mean, the feeling I had in this space, I was never able to fully recreate here on the earth plane. Maybe when I'm meditating and connecting with God, when I'm doing yoga, I have brief moments of being able to reconnect with that space, but it's not. I haven't been able to you know to have this kind of feeling here on planet Earth. Okay. I remember that there were sort of kind of buildings to what I would call my physical body, my left. Um, and I remember that those buildings, I had a keen sense that these buildings were preparation buildings for other souls to prepare themselves to go back into different lifetimes and different dimensions. And I had come from these buildings. I was ready to go back into another lifetime, even though I was very reluctant. I really didn't want to because I knew what was going to um, I knew what was going to happen here on planet Earth. I kind of had a sense. I had a sense that I had been here many, 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 many times, and that it was a really hard place to be in. But I also had a sense that I really needed to go to this space, that there was a purpose for this. And so what I can say is that I was walking, but I wasn't. Okay, so everything that I'm explaining to you, I'm trying to put into human terms. It's very hard to do that because we're in this constricted little body, and over there we don't have that. So we can just communicate via our minds, and we can understand concepts that we could not possibly understand in this human body. So when I say walking, I wasn't obviously walking because I didn't have a body. But it felt like that sensation of walking. I was floating more or less on a sort of a path, which wasn't a path, but that's the best way I can describe it. Okay. And next to me was my mentor, my spiritual mentor. So the way I perceived myself was as pure light. I was pure light. It was this ball of energy that was just white light. And my mentor portrayed himself as male and as a very tall sort of being in what I can only describe as bluish purple robes. That's how he portrayed himself to me. Now, do I believe that there is such a thing as male or female over there? There is and there isn't. I think that it's all based on the soul and how they're comfortable. And so for me, my mentor has always been male for some reason. Okay, so we were floating down that little pathway, and I was really reluctant to go back. So we were having a telepathic conversation in our in the energetic realm, mind to mind. And we were having this telepathic conversation about me going back. And I said, I really don't want to go back. I really have to go because it's so beautiful over here. It's so lovely. It's such a beautiful, loving space. And I know what it's gonna be like down there when I'm back. And he said, well, we discussed it. We discussed that you have to go back. And I said, yeah, I know we discussed everything. I know we planned everything out, but I'm kind of hoping that maybe there's another way. Maybe there's another way that I can do this, but not having to go back here to this planet, to this earthly realm. And he said, well, there's not really anything we can do here. And I bargained with him, and I said, okay, but what if I really, really, really tried really hard to, learn a lot and work through a lot of things? Do you think it would be possible for me to speed things up so that, I don't have to go very many more times after this lifetime? Because I really don't want to go anymore. I'm really done with this earthly plane. And he said, well, that's kind of up to you. The beauty is you have free will. It's really up to you. You can decide what you want to do, and you can decide, how quickly you want to speed through this. And at the end of this journey into this lifetime, we can see, and maybe you've surpassed, what we set up for this lifetime, and maybe we can figure out, what the next step is, and how many more times you have to go. And that was satisfying enough. I remember thinking to myself, what I can only perceive as thinking, I'm going to do my very best. I'm going to speed through this lifetime. I'm going to try to do as much as I can so that I don't need to come back that many more times. That was really burned into my my consciousness there, right then and there. I also had a sense of like a godly presence that was divine presence that was sort of just downloading spiritual knowledge to me at rapid speeds into my consciousness, into that ball of energy that I perceived myself to be. So we walk down this, what I could only describe as path, and we come to this place that I can only describe as almost like a helicopter pad. Okay, it was a round place, and it was swirling, so it was like a vortex. Okay, it was swirling down, and I was standing at the edge of it with my mentor to my right, and I perceived other souls standing around this vortex. I perceived at least 2 or 3 other souls that were standing there, also ready to depart into their respective lifetimes. I could not kind of figure out though what they were talking about. Okay, they were communicating telepathically as well, I'm sure, because it wasn't important to my evolution. Um, and so I was standing there still bargaining and saying, hey, is there anything we can do? Can we just, I really don't want to go. And there was a really kind of bittersweet pain that I felt in that moment. Pain, not obviously in human terms again, but just kind of this like, I really don't want to go. I'm going to miss you. And the last thing my mentor said before he pushed me into the vortex, which I wasn't too happy about, was, you have to go now because otherwise this lifetime's going to bomb. You have to go now. And we'll always be there. We're always here. You just have to reach out in your mind to us. The veil between us is just an illusion. You've worked through that in other lifetimes, and now you know it. So just reach out to us, and we'll be there. And in that moment, he pushed me into the vortex, and I fell backwards into the swirling vortex, and I was sucked into darkness. I've read and heard enough of near-death experiences that I can confidently say that this was the tunnel that a lot of people, perceive when they have a near-death experience. So I was sucked into this swirling vortex of darkness, and I was thinking to myself, why did he push me? Oh, now I'm going again. And so I was falling into the vortex, and there was a changing point where suddenly I came out, and it was very bright light, and I was slammed into my body. It was, I could not describe it any differently, but a slamming. It was painful, it was cold, it was hard, it was disgusting, honestly. It was disgusting. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, here we go again. And after that, I just kind of fell into this really deep sleep kind of coma. And my mother will tell you the story. I was born in Switzerland in 1987, that the next day she came to visit me. And I was in this little nursery surrounded by all these screaming babies, and I was smack in the middle, just sleeping very deeply. And that, was really also how I perceived my birth. It was sort of this, I'm here again, I just want to pass out and sleep. My mother will also tell you that I was 2 weeks late, and the doctors were really concerned about, about this delayed delivery, and it was a heart delivery too. So it matches up with what my mentor said to me before he pushed me, because I think he really had to push me because I didn't want to come. And he said, you really need to go. It's time to go now, otherwise it's going to bomb, right? Otherwise you're going to miss the lifetime, because who knows, maybe I would have been a stillbirth or whatever else. I had some like memories trickle up after that. I remember I must have been maybe a couple of weeks old, and I remember family members standing around my crib and looking at me and doing like the Gucci goo ga ga ga, the baby language. Oh, look at her, she's so sweet. And I remember looking up at them and thinking, I don't know any of you, and why are you talking to me like I'm dumb? I'm in here and I can think and see and feel you perfectly. Why are you talking to me like I'm a mush ball? And then I just passed out again because I just didn't want to deal with anything. My mom will also tell you that I slept a lot as a child, and I think it was just me trying to like figure this out, that I was in a body again and just avoiding the reality of it. I also had memories when it must have been in my first baby year, when my parents would tell me my name. They would say, oh, your name is Christine, and, and would tell me my last name. And I remember looking up and thinking, weird, wasn't I named a different way? I've sort of memories bubble up about my most recent lifetime where I had where I must have passed away as a young child, because that's what it felt like. And I remember my parents really grieving over me. Now, those are the memories that I kind of sustained after year one, after that memory of thinking, strange, my name's Christine now. Like, wasn't it something different? Um, I I think that's when my soul fully integrated with my body, and I started just really being the mush that a child is, and I think my brain took over my soul, and the just domestication started taking over too. I was raised um, in a household that it was not religious at all or spiritual, very science based. When I told my mom these memories, they were dismissed as this is just a dream. It wasn't believed that any of this was true. And while I always had this very deep conviction that this was not a dream, that when she would say that, and I'd be like, but no, it wasn't. I was always very frustrated that she wouldn't believe me. But at the same time, it was made very clear, we don't talk about this anymore. This was just a dream. Put it away, and that's that. And so that's how I grew up. I just kind of took on the reality of my caregivers and decided that that was that. Until I started, going and experiencing some rougher stuff in my life, especially as a teenager. I was troubled in a way where I felt like there was something more to my life. I felt like that memory kept coming up, and I was like, strange, like I remember this as if it was yesterday, and in such detail and in ways that all my other dreams don't come up to me. And why would this would have been a dream? But I was also not courageous enough to really look into it and figure it out until my early 20s, when a very close childhood friend of mine passed away from cancer at 21. Our families were really close, and I grew up with him. I actually witnessed, I was 3 when he was born, and he passed away very suddenly. And I just kind of try to figure that out, the grief over that, and, even though it was grief that wasn't very direct, because it was a childhood friend. But at the same time, childhood friend passes away, that's traumatic nonetheless, for especially a very young adult. And so I kept coming back to that memory of mine, and I was like, well, I've always wanted to figure out if this was real or not. I started Googling pre-birth experiences, but of course nothing came up, because there aren't that many people out there that have pre-birth experiences. There's one book, and that's about it. But I started looking into near-death experiences, and the near-death experiences were very much like what I had experienced. I also looked into children who remember their past lives, and also there I could find a lot of parallels and things that lined up with my experience, which actually got me on the path that I'm on right now. I started becoming very interested in meditation, very interested in dream work, very interested in transpersonal psychology. I decided to go for a Ph.D. In trying to figure out what my experience actually was. And getting all these degrees, and from introspection, and from talking to both traditional healers as well as non-traditional healers, I am 100% convinced that this was a completely real experience that I had. Because it is so crystal clear, it is in my mind like it happened yesterday. I remember every single detail. I remember every single thing that was telepathically communicated between my mentor and I. And it was, my dreams are very different, other than when I have big dreams, which is something I'm going to talk about in a little later in another video. So for a very long time, I did not share this story with very many people for fear of sort of being dismissed, like I was dismissed by my parents, and for people not believing me. And while this is still an anecdotal story, right? You can believe me or you can't. Only I know the kind of experience I had. Um, I felt it was the right time to really share it. I couldn't come up with the courage for the longest time, but then was very much guided to share this story, especially as more and more people are also starting to share their near death experiences. Um, and so, why am I telling you this story, and what do I want you to get out of it? Well, number one, I want you to get out of it that we all absolutely have a mission and a purpose in this lifetime, and that we do plan this purpose in this lifetime. I don't really believe in coincidences. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and I believe that the reason is for us to remember where we came from and remember who we are, which is pure and unconditional love, and beings that are created in the image of God that are just wanting to come back to that unconditional love and merge back with that. Okay. I also believe that it is time for all of us to step into our mission and our purpose, and that these missions and these purposes are as unique as our fingerprints. Okay, not my mission is completely different from your mission. I also wanted to share this with you um, because I wanted to encourage you to get over your fear of sharing the heart stories of your life and being an authentic person. Because when we show our authenticity and we show and we share our stories aside, even though we're afraid to be judged, but because we want to share them so that we can spread some hope and light and empowerment. The hope and the light and the empowerment that we're sharing is going to be bigger than than that fear. So don't be afraid to share, your stories, because they can inspire other people to do the same, and they can inspire other people and give hope. And that's what the world needs right now. Um, and lastly, I really wanted to just put it out there as another bookend to, the ton of near death experiences that are coming out, and invalidating them and saying, hey, listen, like, I did not have a near death experience. I had a pre-birth experience. And while that might be rare, it is the other bookend. It's exactly what most people experience in their near death experiences, just on the other end, which is in the beginning of life. Um, and also to give you, a sense of that there is definitely more to life. We are immortal beings, and we're in this lifetime, for this short period of time that we decided to enter the stage and play our roles. But we go on past our death, and we're probably going to enter other lifetimes, or do other things in the universe. But the one thing that I'm absolutely sure about is that we're more mortal past this physical being and body. And I think when we have that understanding and that awakening, then life just becomes totally different. It's a totally different perspective. Now, that said, okay, I just want to talk about this really hard topic of suicide. That's a totally different topic, okay? Um, this does not mean you end your life, okay? Because that's going to have very different impact on you and your soul, and it's not a good thing to do. Um, it's really just meant to encourage you to see that there is a purpose and there's a reason here, and there's also a reason for the hardship. And most often, the reason for the hardship is to really push you into what it is that you're meant to do here, which all of us remember, if we have the right guidance, and to just courageously go after that, because it's as much as we push it away, we're going to get more wake up calls, and depression will rise and all of that. So, we can have it easier. We can just recognize what it is and move forward. Um, so the last thing I want to leave you with for today is Einstein said energy can't be destroyed, energy can only be changed. And I think we're moving away from this religious era where, you know, it's kind of like my religion is better than yours, or, you know, I don't believe in that or that. And we're moving into a more universally kind of true space where we're thinking about spirituality more in transpersonal terms, and in terms of energy, and in terms of um, non-denominational sort of the idea of non-denominational unconditional love, that we want to merge back with. And I think almost everybody on planet Earth can go get down with that, right? So Einstein said, energy can't be destroyed, it can only be changed. And I'm going to leave you with that for today. I hope you were able to listen to my story with an open heart and an open mind. If you liked the story and you want more people to hear of it, please go ahead and share this video. I really would like for a lot of people to hear about this and to, you know, kind of start helping people to awaken to where they're, what this really is all about that we're in. And you know, if you want to subscribe, please subscribe. Hit the subscription button down below. And that's all I got for you today. If you want to work with me, I will put some links down below as well. Like I said, I do energy psychology. I'm a Ph.D. in psychology. I also do life purpose coaching, and I'm an intuitive, and I do intuitive guidance and counseling, and have a bunch of workshops and courses. So you can, you know, kind of take advantage of that. And with that, I will leave you be. Blessings to all, and have a wonderful day.